Hello, everybody, and welcome to the September 23rd episode of Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
We have two segments to bring you, 6 races, and we'll run the gamut here. We'll go from some maiden races to some stakes races, some claiming races, some turf, some dirt, a lot going on, and we'll start it off on the first day of last week. That was the 16th. It's race number 4. This is a maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies. We're looking at the 7 performing first-time starter from the Bill Mott barn.
Yeah, and this is a horse that clearly, he runs better than it looks like on paper. Now, how good he is ultimately, I don't know. This was not a strong maiden field. However, going a mile the first time out with a bit of a trip, I would say, or a kind of trip I guess you want to see from a firster in the sense that he showed a little something down the backstretch.
Well, you see where performing is right now, and performing is dropping back a little bit. You know, I thought it would have been in a good spot right there where we froze it, and here you just don't expect to see performing do what he's about to do. He's going to come down through the inside here and make a bid for the lead on the rail, just in the first quarter of a mile here. A very eventful run for performing, and this isn't the kind of race you want to see any horse run at Belmont Park, regardless of first-time starter or not.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you that this is, I'm not really sure what the plan was here, but maybe it was a horse that just needed a race. It was a first-time starter. That was a very big price, over 20-1 in this race, so maybe the horse just needed a race. I don't know. I don't know how good he, it's hard to judge because the winner of this race ran okay, but he was coming out of a maiden race where he ran fairly well and ran a figure in the 60s. Second finisher improved dramatically, a $3.1 million, mysterious $3.1 million yearling. Nobody else in here really ran a step.
And you see performing start to tire now on the inside, dropping back a couple of spots, and he's going to finish toward the back of the pack here, actually going to finish 5th. But you know what, I look at the pedigree here on performing, smart strike out of a Dynaformer mare. I'm thinking maybe second time out, turf might be the play here, especially considering Mott's ability to move a horse to the grass and move that horse up.
Yeah, that might be the case, and maybe based on, my problem, you may be right. My problem with that is, I guess, if that's the case in a certain way, this is sort of an interesting prep race, because if Billy Mott was always thinking, I've got a horse I'd rather run on the turf here, then he needed a little bit of a tightener, he needed a race under his belt, and he got a little one, because he did run for a good half a mile there and made that middle move, and obviously it didn't matter what happened at the end. Performing, depending on where he shows up next race, could be a little bit interesting. I don't want him against maiden special weights. He's not beating them. If he dropped into a claiming race or he went to the turf, I could be interested.
I'm really looking for the price next time out on performing. I think the fade and the stretch there will definitely help you out a little bit there. Let's get on to our second race. We'll move on to the grass, and we're going to take a look at a New York bred maiden special weight for 2-year-olds on the 17th. Race number 4. We're taking a look at the 2 Fortunate Run and the 4 EIRE'S run. They're going to get into a little bit of trouble here as they make the bend onto the backstretch.
Right, and these are 2 horses that break next to each other in the race, even though they have different posts. You can sort of see them. We'll separate here. The 2 is on the inside, and the 4 is right outside of them. And
we'll see here is the mile and the 16ths on the widening course at Belmont. A little bit tricky with that dog leg left as they approach the backstretch, as I mentioned before. And you're going to see the 2 horse here, Fortunate Run, get checked here and lose about 3 lengths. EIRE'S Run, in this spot here. And EIRE'S Run, we'll take a look at the ride this horse got too. I never liked the kind of ride that EIRE'S Run got here. I know you're going to say that he didn't really get into much trouble throughout the race. Just it seems like the rider's just tapping on the brakes throughout here, and I just don't ever like those kind of rides personally. Not to say that it cost EIRE'S Run, because I can't say that it did or didn't, but really the horse that I'm looking forward to next time out here is Fortunate Run, who's barely sticking her head on the screen right now here, and we'll see a little bit more trouble as we get to the top of the stretch.
Yeah, I have another problem with this race. My problem with this race is I don't want to bet anybody out of this race, to be perfectly honest. I thought this was a particularly weak New York bred maiden special weight on the turf for 2-year-olds. Now, I'm not saying we're going to have killers race after race, and I understand what you're saying about the 4 EIRE'S Run here, but he got such a, I guess I just disagree. I think he's got to rate him. What was he going to do? Send him up to the lead there? The horse I really don't want out of this race is Bishop of Nola, the 5 who finished second. Everybody's going to bet him next week. I can't wait to bet against him. Supreme, Serene on the inside, the 10, he had trouble. I'd rather take these 2 horses, your 2 horses, than those 2. I'll tell you that.
And we'll see Fortunate Run here, just in behind EIRE'S Run on the yellow cap and the green silk's going to try to angle out for some running room there, but in behind some horses has some trouble finding some room there. We got them highlighted both again there. Just a tough spot that Fortunate Run is in here. And as you see, through the stretch, jockey tries to angle inside. There's really not much room there. Tries to go back outside. All said and done, just not much finish here. It does, pass a horse in the stretch here, but after that, kind of just gives it up a little bit here. And, all in all, I didn't think it was that bad of an effort considering the early trouble and the trouble at the top of the stretch.
He certainly ran a lot better than his debut. I will definitely give you that. Whether or not, I'm not going to agree with any. I agree that these horses had somewhat of trips. I just think this was not a strong field, and I'm looking to bet against all of them. I hope that a couple of new strangers show up against this crew next time. But I could see elevating Fortunate Run in this race. All
right, we'll get on to stakes caliber horses now. Rutherienne running in the Noble Damsel here on Saturday, I believe. It was Saturday, the fourth race. And, this is a horse that's run some big races, very classy, and really a spot that she's supposed to win at 2-5 favorite.
Yeah, there's no question that Rutherienne is not the kind of horse you want to bet on in the future, to be honest. She's going to find a way to lose. I guess it's now she was best in this race, and circumstance made her race much closer than it should have been. And we're going to try to show you a couple of these. And there she is, settling back in sixth right now. And the first thing is she is a horse that's comfortable running inside of horses. Having said all that, you've got a horse that, what was she, 2-5 in here, 1-5, 2-5. You've got a horse that's 2-5 that on paper can't lose the race. I'm not sure why it was necessary to put her inside of horses and behind horses. One of the things about Belmont Park, in my opinion, and I know there's people who disagree with me, maybe they're right and I'm wrong, but my opinion is overly worrying about ground loss at Belmont, especially in the dirt, but even on the turf, to the detriment of putting a horse like this who can't lose on paper in trouble, it doesn't make any sense. So this decision from a horse who broke from the outside post to get in among behind horses, to me, in watching the race, I was mystified. I was thinking, why would you do that? Now, I'm not saying you want to be 4 wide around the horse outside of her, but he didn't have to be in that situation. He could have sat back and waited. She doesn't need to be this close. She could have sat. She could have comfortably been a little bit ahead of the horse who's behind them in red and been 2-3 wide. Who cares? Now, you want to angle out sweetly here, but the problem is it just doesn't happen that way. They split here, but we're going to show the head-on and show what happens. Right now, when she's splitting, she's in the 4 path. And the horse outside of her ends up finishing second, Quiet Meadow, and you'll never believe it watching the race, because I don't think anybody watched this race live and thought Quiet Meadow didn't win. She's in the 6th path, but she'll come in, and you can see already, even on the pan, she's tightening it up. But we're going to show you how much more this race gets tightened up.
Yeah, it's on the head-on. It's much more apparent, and you get to see some more of the jockey's actions. Javier Castellano on board Quiet Meadow here, and we can have some kind of debate as to whether or not it's good race riding or not, but we'll see when we go to the head-on. Javier Castellano, he knows Rutherienne's the one to beat here, and he's trying to give his horse the best chance to win, and in doing so, I think he's trying to keep Rutherienne in very tight.
Right. However, Alan Garcia, who rode Rutherienne, put her in a position where this could happen. On the other hand, she's in the 4 path now. Quiet Meadow is in the 6 path. Right over, she comes right over the 4 path to get in her flank. Okay, I understand that. But on the other hand, as we watch here, and Castellano's ripping righty, he also directs her in, and now she's herding in Rutherienne towards the rail. Now, the rail is there to stop them. Garcia's hitting lefty. He has every right to be doing this. He's trying to hold his ground, but the horse is herded in. These are herd animals, horses. That's what they do. They don't drift in simultaneously. And even there, you see Quiet Meadow leaning over. I don't know. Would Quiet Meadow have come down if she had won? I don't think so. Do I think she should have? It's another discussion. On the other hand, these horses are put in tight. Rutherienne should have been on the outside in the clear, but that doesn't mean she should have been herded to the rail.
Now, what about Rutherienne going forward? She's a tough horse to trust, but I think in a big spot, if she's overlooked, she could be dangerous.
Yeah, right. I hear what you're saying, but what is they going to do? Run her in the First Lady down in Keeneland? I guess everybody's not afraid of Forever Together anymore. It'll be interesting to see where she shows. I'm looking to see her run at Calder, maybe as a swan song. She may retire and breed her. I don't want to bet her anymore, even though I think she was much better than it looks in this race. Anyway, that does it for this first episode of Trips and Traps. Love to hear your thoughts. Trips and Traps at NYRAInc.com. Keep them coming.